So the other day, I was on eBay and I was looking for a new guard for my grinder. I couldn't find it for the life of me. What I've actually ended up doing is I've stolen off one of my 240 volt grinders, so we're good for the meantime. But I was just having a look. You think it would be an easy part to source. While I was looking, I keep getting results for fake Makita grinders. So they advertise themselves as having 20,000 RPMs, 800 watts, 7,500 RPMs, like all different, same thing. They advertise 500 different specs, you know, the whole works. Obviously, curiosity got a hold of me and I bought one. Before I even open up this box, I've got a couple of theories. Best case, I'm gonna have something I can put a flap disc in and use moderately. Worst case is, not only are we supporting the CCP's knocking off of actual products, I'm got myself that's gonna throw shards in my face or something. So my expectations are, best case, I'm gonna have something that I can throw a flap disc in and just use as like my metal polishing grinder, not doing any heavy duty work. Worst case is I've thrown money towards the inevitable cycle of the Chinese Communist government stealing all the IP off other people and making knockoff goods for a dud. But who knows? So I might be pleasantly surprised. I might be theories confirmed, but I'm the idiot that spent the money on it. You got the grinder. It's even got a dead man locking switch. Or you can smell it. Safety handle. The guard. These are a lot harder to find, like as a one piece than you'd think. Whoa, look at these funky discs. I feel like that these aren't gonna last long before they snap and, you know, just come flying straight at you, but I do like the colour green. And like a chuck key. So that's it, bare bones. So obviously it looks like they're trying to clone something newer than my old grinder. So the handle and the form factor is actually quite small. It feels a lot lighter than the old one. Well, I guess fair's fair, take the battery out. It actually feels a little bit more balanced. Again, I don't actually have the guard on yet, so. Yeah, it's a lot lighter. I'll try and measure these, get their weights, but whew. It's hard to judge with your hand, but it feels almost half as heavy. Well, let's put a battery in and see if it blows up. Did you hear that wind up? Sounded like a UFO taking off. That spins quite fast. I'm gonna have to put a disc in this one and have a comparison. I mean, it's all audio and visual, but so it's got these it's got this strange battery selector, and it's got three different modes. You can actually go for speed. So when you pull the trigger on it, it gives you a battery indicator, and it's also got 3 different mode selections for speed, and that actually controls the speed of the grinder. That's a weird little addition. I'm not sure what sort of purposes you want to change the speed of your grinder like that. No other grinders have ever had speed changing. You just rip into her at the speed you got, and it's up to you with your pressure in that to what sort of control you've got. I dare say that's just the leftover of, they must clone other things, and that's just what they put in. Like, they just throw it in the moulding when they design their clones. That's their chip that they buy on bulk. That's what they use. That's only my assumption, but that's what I reckon's going on here. On job sites with the Makita radios, the actual real Makita radios, if you really need to, you can throw a Bosch battery in there. I wonder if that rings true for these as well. I mean, it doesn't really go all the way in, but a little bit of duct tape and whatever, and you're gonna get the job done. But I think, to be fair, that's true for the actual Makita, maybe. No, can't quite get it in there. But I know for the back of the rack. Oh, there you go. Pretty much any tool that's only got the 2 prongs. If the polarity's right and the batteries are right, you can get away with a little bit of bestiality, I guess. I've actually done a not too bad job with this on the mould, the outside, the look and the feel. It could definitely be genuine. The over moulding is actually quite surprisingly soft. So, I mean, I don't know what it's made up of, but it's just as soft and just as comfortable as on my grinder. Will it hold up to the test of time? I don't know. Will it peel? Seems to be glued down quite well now, but it hasn't had any use, so I don't know. Slight gappage issue there. Bit of quality control slipped through. But besides that, she's pretty decent. She goes alright. From the outside, you can be tricked. The only dead giveaway that it's a cheap price, cheap brand, is there is no sticker on it. I assume this is a place where you could throw your company name on if you wanted to. I don't know why you would want to attach yourself to a knockoff product, but you could. Or that might be where you put your little Makita sticker when you're trying to trick someone on the back of a truck somewhere. So far, just quietly, it's been winning me over from the outside. It's kind of decent tool by the looks and sounds and feels. Haven't put it to any sort of work yet, but just initial impressions, it's kind of winning me over as not a bad option. But it might have a few secrets inside. We don't know. Magnets, how do they work? So once you get it apart and you have a look at it, the moulding actually doesn't look too bad at all. It's a lot more rigid and a lot more well done. They've actually spent a lot of money and a lot of time on this mould. Whether there was a company that originally approached them to make a clone of a Makita, or they've just gone out and said, we're going to clone this. It was supposed to be originally a different colour that fell through, or whatever. It looks like the mould, there was a bit of time and effort put in the design. So that's actually surprising. So the internals, there's not a lot going on here with the internals. You've got a switch with the locking mechanism. This switch is rated for 10 amps at 250 volts. So essentially they're using the same switch for this as they're using for any circumstances. It is actually not doing any full switching. It appears to be just switching something inside this potted area. This little drive controller, you can't really see a lot that's going on. It's in like a cast aluminium, or I think that's aluminium. It's cast in an aluminium thing and then potted, so that'll just be to keep other people from stealing the same intellectual property that they're stealing. There's a bit of cardboard on the back. I don't know. Maybe it was a shim to make it rattle less in the whole process. We'll just see if we can get some power on. So the speed selector's there, and you actually have to run it for the battery indicator to come online. This will be the exact same as they use in other cheap tools and other knockoffs. Like if you were to buy a circular saw, anything just has a brushless motor, span or something, they're reusing this part here. They're not changing a single thing. That's why there's a 3-speed sensor on it. Not because the grinder calls for different speeds or anyone ever wants different speeds on a grinder, because they can use this when they make a rip-off rattle gun, when they make a rip-off circular saw, saber saw, you name it. If all it's doing is spin a little brushless drive, they're using this, and they've got the functionality of speed as well. But economy of scale, why would you produce 3 or 4 different parts when you can order 1 million of the same part and get it for cheaper? This is probably setting them back $3, $4 less a piece. The switch is going to be 50 cents to $1. The battery charger, again, the same, less, probably 20 cents a piece once you bring it up. And the brushless drive, they'll get that down to about $5. So you're looking at about 20 bucks worth of gear here. Then you do also have the head, the casting of the head, and the gearing that goes with the rest of it. But all in all, it's pretty cheap, but it's not made horrible. These things do go through some sort of quality control, as you see the ticks along the way. A tick here, a tick here. So they are tested. This one, you're probably not getting a whole lot of dead-on arrivals, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did. The brushless motor is cheap, but it is brushless. So, I mean, these sort of things you'd expect a carbon brush motor to rock up and you just be sold as brushless, and they're just hoping that people just know the word brushless as a buzzword and they don't know what they're picking up. It is actually surprising to see. This could be branded as something else. You know, if brands like Tool Pro or Harbor Freight, what do they make? Hercules, things like that. Hercules will do well selling these because they can make it cheap enough, and all they have to do is change the battery form on the mould. Which, the interesting thing about these molds is they are well made. And if you think about the clamshell, it may only seem like a small adjustment to take the Makita battery, but it means they've made a whole mold just to make these rip-offs. They haven't just modified an existing mold. They might have modified an existing 3D CAD or drawing or something, but they still have to make a whole mold. And molds aren't cheap, so they're investing a bit of money on their cheap knockoffs. On first glance, it's not a bad gear. It's a very, very sticky grease in here, but well, maybe that's for the better. It looks nice. I mean, it's got to do its job. This gear on the inside looks a whole lot nicer. It's a shame there's no info on the motor itself. On the drive, there's no indicative markings, so I can't look that up and find a replacement or an actual part for that. All in all, this isn't that much different to what I would expect inside most tools, especially for the price you're paying. It's right on brand with the money. This is interesting, this little shield. I don't know if that's to try and shield a bit of the unsealed bearing. It seems to have metal in it. So, or is that to make up for any discrepancy in the bearing size versus the mould? I don't actually remember taking that out, so I can't tell you exactly where it did live, but it seems like that's the place for it. Just sits on there. That must make up the tolerances in what they've left here. I suppose one thing to mention is that this grinder used to have, I don't know if you can see, used to have this little plug here which stopped putting in 5 amp batteries. 5 amp hour batteries. Essentially, that's to stop you from overheating this battery because it doesn't have the same thermal sense as, say, this drill here, which can read what's going on, know what's going on, and stop you from killing your battery. This also, from factory, does not have that, but is made to take whatever Makita battery you want. So that is something to keep in mind, because if you're running this flat stick and you grab this and you just start using this as if it's any other just tool that comes with some sort of warranty or company that's actually going to stand behind it, you're wrong. They don't give a shit if you kill all your batteries. As long as you bought this skin, gave them you good money, they're not after repeat business. They're happy with the one time. You sell a million one time, and you've got a whole lot of millions, don't you? Alright, so I'm going to cut something with it, put it through a bit of a torch test. This is close to 20mm thick by 80mm deep, I think, bar. It should be able to get through it. Whether it does, I don't know. This is a pretty big task for any of the old school 18V battery grinders. Just kidding. Before we cut anything, we're going to make sure we're wearing our safeties. A shout out to SafeStyles. Finally, a bit of style on site that is still safety conscious and safety rated. I've been personally running these for a long time now, and I'm starting to see a lot of other people run them. And why wouldn't you? It's a small business run by an ex-tradie himself, and it's just awesome to see someone out there making a cool product and making it well. They're so nice, they made a sticker on my fridge twice. I think we killed it. I think she's cactus. Well, there you go. She's not in the best of shapes at the moment. Yeah, she didn't really like that. The battery's stuck, so not really sure what's going on. So the battery's flat, so maybe it does have some under voltage protection built in. Put a 3 amp hour in. For a minute there, well, that chewed through a lot of battery actually. That was most of the way full when I started that cut, and I mean it is a big cut, but see that? So before I was wrong. That was all the inbuilt smarts of the Makita battery itself saying, hey, I'm getting too low, shut her down, I'm not sending out. But when this happens, hear how low it is compared to, it's like, that'll be partly due to this battery not telling you that. And also, this grinder doesn't give a shit what the state of your battery is. It's just gonna run until it decides it's run enough. So what I think's happening here is when you first, because the battery is so low, when you first turn it on, she gets up, she starts running. And she's spinning, that's all good. But because the battery is depleting, it slowly starts spinning slower. Now what's happening is there's no Halifax sensors in here, so it doesn't know whereabouts the motor is, all it is. And so you get that lag. So pretend this disc is spinning, but I'm the magnetic field, if you will. And every time I hit this blue line, we're in sync. Slowly we fall out of sync. Slowly, but every now and then we get back in the sync, and when it gets back in the sync, it gives it that judder. It's a terrible explanation, but you probably get my gist of why this is happening. That gut is pretty much the same as when you spin it and you're crossing the magnetic poles yourself. See? So what that's telling me is before this battery was doing all the protection, this skin was doing absolutely nothing. It was in she runs until she don't run mode, which, to be fair, if I'm being fair, I modified this one to do the same, so I can't complain about them being cheap themselves. I realise it's no good me throwing around theories based on electrical theory that I did years and years and years ago. I should try and prove at least one of the causations, which is the battery was flat. So I'll give it a go with a brand new battery. Houston, we have a problem. We've got another battery. Where are we? As long as it stays up at that speed, it's pretty happy. So I guess it's what you expect. So my final thoughts on this fake Makita. It's pretty good. It's 60 bucks and you get a brushless grinder that will fit your batteries that you already have. 60 bucks is not a lot of money, not like it's, compare it to the 300 bucks you'd spend on a brand new brushless Makita versus 60 bucks for the knockoff. It's built pretty well. I like the balance of it, one hand operation once you spin it around the right way. The form factor is good. I'm pretty happy with everything about it. You go through the build quality, the shell is really well built, feels just the same quality, same rigidity, the same everything. Cheap brushless motor is what you expect. Decent trigger, it's gonna last. This whole thing, if it lasts you 1 + 2 years, or even like 6 months of heavy use, you've got your money's worth out of it. Trouble is, what it is a blatant rip-off, and it's blatantly theft. So you've got the moral dilemma. Do you want to encourage this theft? I bought this from a reseller who is located in Australia, but the problem is he paid someone who paid someone who paid someone, however far along we went down the line. The guys that sat down and said, how can we steal what Makita's got and how can we put this fake product out in the market, got the money. You don't have your protections, no protections built in. This is just a motor that will drive until it stops. It's up to Makita's batteries to look after themselves. Not all of them have the same technology, so you got a chance that you're just going to overheat or overload or undervoltage your battery, and you're going to end up with a tarred pile of batteries bigger than mine, which is just, you'll be spewing. So while these do make fiscal sense for a lot of occasions. Like I said, I think this would be a great addition to permanently have a flap disc in it, and then I just don't have to change steel. It's always there, mobile, ready to go, lives in my workshop, gets used, you know, in a rotation of another 4 or 5 grinders, so it's not going to be like heavy. It should last me a long time, I think. But is it morally, is it worth it? I don't know. It's pretty sketchy. It's like buying stolen goods off, you know, some shady dude in the corner. Might be a good deal for you, but you know, somewhere along the line, someone's getting fucked. So, always got to weigh that sort of stuff up. Pretty good wake up call to Makita. You know, if they're doing it for this cheap, they've got to try and combat it. And the only way for them to combat it is they've got to meet that price range, in that ballpark of price, come to the party, and someone's just got, you know, if you can get the good stuff for close to the same price, you'll pay it. I understand the quality of the internals and all of this. They've got to bring out their Makita Black, or I can't remember what it was called, but if you can't beat them, you got to at least match them. For Makita to combat this, and I know they're doing rattle guns and impacts, and they're probably going to have a drill soon. I dare say the drill's probably a bit harder for them, simply because of the chuck situation. To get a good chuck dialed in and stuff is probably over their, you know, factory allowance. But I can see them pulling out all sorts. A saber saw can't be too long far off, you know, sawzall, whatever you want to call it. This is not a bad bit of kit. It's just a shame that it's morally wrong.